Ever get that feeling that, I don't know, life should maybe be a bit simpler? That figuring ourselves out and other people do, it shouldn't feel quite so complicated.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way. It's a common frustration.
Well, you're definitely not alone if you do. Today, we're diving headfirst, really, into a way of thinking that might just cut through some of that complexity, might offer some genuine aha moments.
Exactly. We're getting into the core ideas from The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumutaka Koga. And this book, it unpacks the psychology of Alfred Adler. Now, Adler, he was working alongside Freud and Jung, way back when.
The big name.
The big names, yeah. But Adler, he went his own way, developed a really unique perspective that honestly, it can shift how you see almost everything.
And what's so interesting is how the book does it. It's all framed as this conversation, right, between a philosopher and this young guy who's really struggling with life.
Yeah, it's a dialogue format.
It feels like we're just listening in on their debate, which is, I think, a fantastic way to grapple with these ideas. They can be challenging. You get to see the back and forth.
Absolutely. And what grabs you right away is this fundamental clash, isn't it?
Totally.
You've got the philosopher saying, look, the world's actually pretty simple. Happiness. Everyone can get there.
And then the young man is like, no way, life is complicated, it's messy, and people, they can't really change.
It's a debate that probably sounds familiar to a lot of us, that internal back and forth.
It really does. So the philosopher kicks things off with this great analogy about well water.
Ah, yes, the well water.
He points out, okay, the water itself, objectively, it's maybe 60 degrees Fahrenheit, pretty constant.
Right.
But how we feel that temperature, that changes drastically. Feels warm in winter, freezing cold in summer.
Exactly.
Okay, so what's the big takeaway there for us?
Well, the key thing is how it highlights our subjective reality.
Subjective reality.
Yeah, the philosopher's basically saying we don't just react to the objective world out there. We live in a world we've personally interpreted. We've assigned meaning to it.
So my world isn't quite the same as your world.
Precisely. And Adlerian psychology argues that this individual lens, this filter, is absolutely critical for understanding why we do what we do. I mean, think about it. Like, two people go to the same party. One might say it was amazing, great energy. The other might say it was dull, awkward. Same party, right?
Different experience based on their mood, expectations, whatever.
Exactly. That's subjective interpretation, big time.
It makes you think about those dark glasses he mentions, the ways we're used to seeing things that might be, well, coloring everything. Which brings us right to the young man's big point of doubt. Can people actually change?
Yeah, his skepticism.
He uses this really sad example, his friend who's a recluse, just completely paralyzed by anxiety, can't leave the apartment.
And the friend wants to change, right? That's what the young man emphasizes. He wants to work, see people.
But he just seems stuck, totally stuck.
And the young man's thinking follows a pretty common path, doesn't it? He's looking for the cause.
Yeah, like what happened in his past, some trauma, bad childhood stuff.
Right. He's looking for the cause that led to this effect. And that way of thinking, searching for past causes, is what Adlerians call etiology.
Etiology, got it. But the philosopher flips that, right? He brings in teleology.
Teleology. It shifts the whole focus.
Okay, break that down for us.
So instead of asking what caused the friend's anxiety in the past, teleology asks, what's the purpose of this anxiety right now?
Purpose?
Yeah. What goal does it help him achieve? The philosopher suggests, maybe controversially, that the anxiety, even though it feels incredibly real, is actually being used as a means to achieve a present goal.
Which is?
The goal of not having to go outside, not having to face whatever challenges that represents for him.
Whoa, okay, that's a tough one. It almost sounds like he's saying the friend is choosing to be anxious, faking it.
Not quite faking it, or at least not necessarily consciously choosing it moment by moment. The philosopher acknowledges the feeling is real. The fear, the physical symptoms, all that.
Okay.
But the Adlerian view is that these feelings are being generated, maybe unconsciously, maybe partly consciously, to serve that current aim.
To avoid something.
To avoid something. It's about the mind and body kind of conspiring to achieve the goal of staying put, avoiding confrontation or potential failure. It reframes motivation entirely.
Huh. Like procrastination, maybe. You feel anxious about starting, and that anxiety lets you put it off, avoid it.
That's a great example. The anxiety serves the immediate goal of avoiding the difficult task. even if it causes problems later.
Okay. This leads straight into how Adlerian psychology views trauma, doesn't it? Because the philosopher pretty much denies that past trauma directly causes our present state.
He does. And that feels really counterintuitive to how we usually think about it.
Very.
The core Adlerian idea, as the philosopher puts it, is that no experience is in itself a cause of our success or failure. Meaning, it's not the event from the past that dictates our life now. It's the meaning we give that event, our interpretation. That's what shapes us.
So it's about the story we tell ourselves about what happened.
Exactly. We determine ourselves by the meaning we give to past experiences.
He uses that example of the young man spilling coffee.
Right.
And getting furious at the waiter.
Yeah, the young guy sees his anger as just boom, an automatic reaction. He was wronged, so he got angry. Cause and effect.
But the philosopher says no.
The philosopher turns it around. He says the anger wasn't the result of the spill. It was a tool the young man sort of fabricated on the spot to achieve a goal.
Which was?
To make the waiter submit, to intimidate him, get him to back down. The shouting was enabled by the anger he generated.
Wow. And then there's that story about the mother yelling at her daughter.
Oh yeah, that's a brilliant illustration.
She's furious, right?
Right.
Then the phone rings. She answers it completely politely,
Switches instantly. Calm, pleasant voice.
hangs up, and immediately goes back to yelling at the daughter.
It shows anger isn't just this uncontrollable wave that washes over you. It can be, apparently, switched on and off, deployed when useful.
Which really challenges that idea that we're just slaves to our emotions.
It does. Understandably, the young man accuses the philosopher of nihilism, like he's just dismissing feelings altogether.
Yeah, I can see why he'd say that. But what's the philosopher's actual point?
He clarifies. Adlerian psychology isn't denying emotions exist. Of course they do. Everyone feels anger, sadness, joy.
Okay.
The crucial difference is the claim that we aren't controlled by them. We're not just puppets pulled by emotional strings or by strings reaching back into our past.
So the past happened, the feelings are real, but they don't determine our present actions or choices.
That's the argument. He used the example of divorced parents. The divorce is a fact, it happened. But the meaning one person gives that event, it ruined my life, versus it taught me resilience, or whatever. That meaning is a subjective interpretation made now, and that's what influences their current life, not the divorce itself.
Right. It's about how you frame it today.
Precisely.
Okay, so this then connects to the Adlerian idea of lifestyle, which isn't just about, like, your daily habits.
No, it's much bigger than that. In Adlerian terms, lifestyle is your fundamental way of being in the world.
Like your worldview.
Exactly. Your patterns of thinking, behaving, how you see yourself, how you see others, how you approach life's challenges. It's the whole sort of personal framework.
And here's the really mind-bending part. The philosopher says we choose this lifestyle. It's not just baked in from birth.
That's the assertion, a pretty radical one.
Definitely.
Adlerian psychology suggests this basic lifestyle gets set pretty early, maybe around age 10. Often unconsciously, yes.
Yeah.
Influenced heavily by environment, parents, all that.
Sure.
But ultimately, from this perspective, the individual makes a choice about how they're going to navigate the world. That's the empowering core of it. If your current way of being, your lifestyle, is fundamentally a choice you made, then you have the power, right now, to choose differently.
Okay, but hold on. If being unhappy is linked to our chosen lifestyle, why would anyone choose unhappiness? Why don't people just switch?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this is where the philosopher talks about fear, specifically the fear of the unknown.
Okay.
And also the sort of weird security we find in the familiar, even if that familiar is unhappy.
He uses that car analogy, right? The old
Rattling car. You know all its problems, you know how it's going to fail, you know its quirks, it's predictable.
Even if it's uncomfortable or unreliable.
Right. Choosing a new lifestyle, a different way of being, is like stepping into a brand new, unfamiliar car. You don't know how it handles, what might go wrong. It's uncertain, anxiety-provoking.
So we stick with the unhappy familiar because changing feels too risky, too scary.
That's the idea. We might complain about the old car, but we're afraid to actually trade it in.
So then, what does it take to actually make that change, to choose a new lifestyle? What's the missing piece?
The philosopher puts it very simply, and quite profoundly, I think.
Yeah.
It takes courage.
Courage.
The courage to be happy. It's not that we lack the ability, or that the past holds us prisoner. According to Adler, what holds us back is a lack of courage.
The courage to face the unknown, to leave the comfort of our misery.
Yes. The courage to step outside that familiar pattern, embrace the uncertainty, and actually believe that a different, happier life is possible for us.
Wow. Okay, let's just quickly recap the big points from this first part of the dialogue.
Good idea.
We started with subjective reality, how we interpret the world.
The well water.
Then the shift from etiology past causes to teleology prison goals.
Right, the purpose behind our actions, even anxiety.
Then the Adlerian view on trauma, it's the meaning we give it, not the event itself.
And the idea that emotions can be tools we kind of fabricate.
Right, the coffee spill, the mother on the phone, and the concept of a chosen lifestyle.
Our fundamental worldview, chosen early on,
But re-choosable, if we have the courage.
if we have the courage to be happy, that's the crux of it.
That covers a lot. Some really challenging ideas in there.
Definitely thought-provoking.
Yeah.
The main challenge it throws down is this idea that maybe, just maybe, our current unhappiness isn't actually dictated by our past.
But by our present choices.
Our choices, and maybe our lack of courage to choose differently.
So, thinking about all this, it makes you go back to that philosopher's question. What dark glasses might you be wearing right now?
What interpretations are you choosing?
Yeah, and what would it actually take for you to, take them off? To even consider that a different life is possible, starting right now?
What lifestyle are you currently living by? And is it one you truly want to keep choosing?
Lots to think about there. Join us next time. We'll be diving even deeper into Adlerian psychology, looking at what happens in the later parts of this dialogue.
Looking forward to it.